Hey guys, what's up? This is Burke, and this is Let's Talk About Life podcast. Last episode, we talked about the transitional curve. We talked about how you start off with uninformed optimism, you're excited, life is amazing, then you become an informed pessimist. All of a sudden, life is a little bit harder. The endeavor that we started becomes very difficult. It requires more work or we fall short. Then we start to doubt ourselves. We get into this place called crisis of meaning. Am I capable? Am I able? We start to doubt our abilities to be able to push through. And then we start to remember all of the times that we failed before, and it just makes us want to fall off. And that's where most of us relapse and live that cycle over and over again. But our team is pulling up stories of where we were able to go through that process and how we got out. So this is the continuation. We talked about our problems and all the things that happened that broke us, because all of us experience brokenness. But then how do we get ourselves out? So let's just get to it. So Ali, let's give us a recap on your story.
Yeah. So
where you ended off, and then knock it out.
So last time, we were talking about my fear of going to the gym and learning about exercising, and just overall, I just thought myself as a weak person and never being able to have that strength to be the strongest version of myself with working out. So it all happened with me quitting going to the gym when I was a young kid, when I was like 15 years old or around that age. I couldn't lift a 45-pound bar. And because of that, I quit going to the gym. I literally just never went to the gym. I was working out at my house, watching pt.2, Tony Horton. It was okay, but it still didn't, I didn't come over my fear of going to the gym. And recently, I think like around, close to, I would say it was about close to 4 years ago, where I met this guy at my work, and he was like a little Asian guy. He wasn't that big. He was like a small Asian guy. He's like, "Hey man, you go to the gym?" And I was like, "No, I don't really go." He's like, "Why not?" He's like, "You should come to the gym with me." And I said to myself, the gym. And that flashback came to my head. I'm like thinking about the bench, right? That 45-pound bar. I'm like, gosh, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll come for the free pass, the 3-day pass. Right. And I went with him to the first gym. And I go inside and I meet the people there, and he's like, all right, let's go work out together. And I started working out, and I realized, he's like, hey man, see that pull-up bar? Let's go do some pull-ups. I go in the pull-up bar. I couldn't even do 5 pull-ups, bro. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out at my house. How come I can't do 5 pull-ups? What the hell's wrong with me? I'm weak. Boom, triggered again.
Right.
But this time, I was sick of it.
Yeah.
I was sick of being a failure. I was sick of not getting strong. I was sick and tired of falling back in that trigger state of mind. I'm going to quit. Hell no. Right. I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to freaking dedicate my time. I'm going to work out every single day, and I'm going to get strong again. This time for the rest of my life. I'm done being sick of this weak person who is just stuck. Being in that cycle of being stuck.
Right.
I couldn't stand it anymore. And with time, I was able to learn about different exercises. I got introduced to calisthenics and learned about the mechanics of body weight, and I am so happy and grateful for that, because now when I see the gym, I love the gym.
Right.
From that fear, it turned into this transformative love.
Right. And
it's just that experience in of itself helped me get past that fear of failure and build that strength to move up from the informed pessimism?
The crisis of meaning.
Crisis of meaning.
Yeah.
From the crisis of meaning all the way to informed optimism.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And as an informed optimist, I feel more, in love with myself when I work out now.
Right.
I'm like, I have that motivation internally.
Yeah. And challenges don't scare you the way they did before, because you're informed. Before, when you're uninformed, when you face a challenge and you fall short, you're like, I suck. Mm-hmm. But now when you face a challenge, all of a sudden you're like, I don't suck, it's just a challenge, right? The story has changed. And so that's what's so important, because you are informed. You actually, what I call is realistic optimism. You're actually, it's based in reality. It's not overhyped. It's not these self-affirmations. It's just like, I have the habit of learning and getting better, right? So what's interesting, I want to know kind of, how did you make the transition? So you come in, you're doing the pull-ups, and you have the flashback to when you couldn't lift the 45 pounds back in the day. And you're like, okay, this time I'm not going to go hide and do P90X. This time I'm going to dedicate myself. And when you dedicate yourself, what were the things that started to allow that transition where you began to believe in yourself again? Because when you're in that space where you don't know if you can get through it, that's when you don't believe in yourself. That's why people fall off. They give up, right? So before you relapsed, this time you're like, you know what? There's a lapse. I felt bad because I couldn't do the pull-ups, but I still am getting engaged. But what made you transition to where you started to believe in yourself?
Honestly, when you think about it, and this happens to all of us,
Right.
especially what I realize is this cycle, this equation that I've been following all my life has not been working. Running away from it, quitting,
Right.
it doesn't resolve anything. Am I going to get better doing this? No. I need to acknowledge that I'm weak and I need to do what is necessary to get strong. And that means swallowing this fear and going to the gym consistently every day and taking ownership of what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's going to have lasting results for the rest of my life. And that became a habit for the rest of my life, and I love it to this day.
Yeah. When was the moment that the gym became your friend?
I would say, honestly, it's within a month, man.
Yeah.
Because consistently I was going.
Got it.
Every day I was just going and trying different things, exploring, you could
Right.
say, with that mindset. When you explore things you're afraid of as an adventure, it's less of a fearful thing. You don't feel like, oh my God, I'm intimidated. You go, you know what? I'm exploring this. And if I fail, hey, I'm exploring this.
Right.
And you start trying different things, trying different machines and seeing where it fits. And that's where it all begins. You know, with anything we're going through our life, specifically the gym. Like people who are scared, you know, who want to try, and I'm sure your clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get scared of going to the gym and they go, oh man, you know, I don't want to do it. Just with an open mind, explore it.
There's something too. So that's powerful. For you got to the place where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just going to do it. And it's funny because that's really it. Like all growth is just, it comes down, I'm just going to do it. And most people never get there because they're like, let me analyze, let me understand, let me really see what my feelings are. But at the end of the day, it's that exposure that gets you to change. So you did it almost every day for a month and you're like, I like this. You're starting to see results. Now, that's the first thing. You're like, I'm just going to go. Then something happens. Did you find a community? Because I remember you were started to you had like a group of people that were doing calisthenics or something like that.
Yeah,
So kind of give us a brief on that.
Yeah, so what happened was I got kind of bored. I got kind of bored of weightlifting after a while. I'm like, all right, I love weightlifting, but I want something more challenging.
Pick up heavy things.
I mean, I like picking up those dumbbells. Working out, man, it's good. But after a while, I'm like, I want something that challenges my mind.
Right.
Then I learned about calisthenics. I was introduced by my cousin, and he taught me about, you know, body weight movement and control handstands, like crazy stuff. And I was like, dude, wow, Superman.
Right.
Let's try this out. And then I started learning about it, and people started watching me at the gym and say, hey, man, what are you doing? I've never seen this done before. So I started teaching people, and I started liking the idea of teaching people about health and fitness and stretching and mobility, and I started getting into, you know, more of a following. And now in the park, I got like a whole group of people that's coming in and they're wanting to work out with me.
Right.
And it's a no judgment place. Right. Everyone goes there from all skills, whether you're having, you know, whether you're overweight, skinny, whether you have no muscles at all. I train like 15-year-old, 12-year-olds. It doesn't matter what it is. You can bring 5-year-olds for all we know.
Right.
So it's just that environment, that open environment. I think when I experience the triggers, I know what it feels like to be weak physically. So when you see a kid that says, oh, I never worked out before, and you say, hey, don't worry about it, come on over. And I feel like I'm talking to myself when I see that little kid, when I couldn't work out before. I said, you know what, I don't want another kid to feel what I felt before. Right. Let me work him out. Let me train him. And
Powerful.
That's why I love it. Yeah.
That's amazing, man, and it's so cool because you know the process of change. And that's my work. How do I get people to move through that process? Because there's a psychological experience that you're having. You know, when you're like, I got this. You know, January 1, I don't got this, and then you go back to like, I'm a worthless person. You know what I mean? You give up. But there's a place where you can actually start to help people. There's specific tools in that valley where you can really help people push on, and you live them out. You know what I mean? One of the things you just decided to do. Like, when you're at the low point, I tell people the best place to be is the lowest point. When I'm talking to people and we're like prospecting and they're like not sure if they want to do it, they're like, hey, I just need help. Those people are at the best place because what I say is like a bow and arrow. When you pull, the further back you pull a bow and arrow, the farther it's going to fly. So when you're in this like dark space, you have more desperation. I call it healthy desperation. Because that's when you're at a place where you're like, I have no choice. I must. It's this or death, right? And when you're at that place, you make the action. You knew, I'm not going back to another couple of years of just doing P90X in my house to come back to the gym and still not be able to do a pull-up. So you're like, okay, I'm going to act. So you go to act. Then all of a sudden, since you're exposing yourself to these spaces, you meet people that are doing calisthenics, right? You realize that you weren't happy with exercise and you want more. You meet these people that do calisthenics and you build a community. And you grow in that community. Then you fall even more in love with that specific form of movement. Then you create your own community and inspire. And it's funny because the last part of my program is inspiration phase. Because no matter how much you know, it doesn't become solidified until you pay it forward. Because you becoming a teacher is the best way to evolve. Plus, you're giving back the same way you've been given too. So it's just kind of cool. You see this whole process that's happening, and you have these terms for it, but it's like you're in the hype phase, and then the hype phase goes away, the honeymoon goes away, and now you're like in the, oh my gosh, can I do it? Can I stick with this person? And then you're like, no, I just need to decide to do it. And then you do it, and then as you do it, people start to come into your life, your community grows, and then as your community grows, you start to pull people into your own community. Beautiful. That's how people get through. There are certain tools that people can use, and it's cool because as we tell our stories, we're like, oh, wow, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not over. You know what I mean? So it's a dope story,
awesome.
man.
Yeah.
Really cool.
With you guys.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
It's exciting,
it's
man.
not all connected.
It always is a narrative. There's a thread in everything. And even in research, they say when you can write the story, like write literally the story of what happened and what it meant to you, because it's your interpretation of the story, it inspires you and encourages you to feel that there's meaning in why it happened. And when you can create that meaning, and the meaning isn't against you, but it's for you, it happened for you, that empowers you to move forward. And whether that meaning is reality or not, meaning is never reality or not because it's your interpretation, it moves you forward. So do whatever moves you forward. And you created a story, this time not to run away but to push forward.
Wow.
Fire, man.
That's
I love
awesome,
this stuff.
bro.
This is sick.
Beautiful stuff.
Sick.
Dang.
So, Jacob,
Yeah,
tell us about where we left off in your cycle.
Oh, man. Your crisis of meaning.
Right.
So right now I'm kind of climbing out of crisis of meaning and going into informed optimism.
Right.
I'm probably on the pathway.
Right.
The best way I can describe this little thing is just like it's what I wrote down was finding two extremes, so balancing out the two extremes. So you start out as like really excited, just like you say, January 1st, you're just really excited about it. You're just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight. And then as you kind of go down, you see the amount of work that you have to do, and you're just like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And then you stop. You give up. You're just like, I'm not going to go to the gym. And then the way I got climbed out of it was through community.
Right.
It was through other people. It wasn't, I could do it by myself, but it made it better if it was with other people.
Right.
So through the program, I'm working out with Hamed at Next Level Fitness, which is super cool because the gym is just, it's an environment.
Absolutely.
It's just like you go there and you're just like, I feel good.
Right.
And what's really cool as well is that the workouts are only like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They're not really that big of a workout. Yeah. So it made it fun. And that's the next point. It's just the fun of it. It's like a dance. It's not like you're trying to start and you're just like, okay, I need to get here as fast as possible. It's just about enjoying the adventure and enjoying the game of life and enjoying life in general to just achieve the goals. It's not about the goals, it's about achieving the goals, if that makes sense.
That's gangster, man. I get that 100%. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. And just, so kind of going back, extreme's fun. And the third one is just, it's how can I say this? It's living. It's balancing it out where it's not always work and it's not always play.
Right.
All it is just you're just taking the two and being like, okay, how can I find the right balance? And it's not going to take you a month to find the balance. It's not going to take you 2 months. It's not going to take you 6 months. It's going to take you a bit and a lot of soul searching too, and a lot of crying and a lot of confronting feelings. Because once you confront the feelings, then you're like, okay, cool, they're there. And kind of like how you said in the last podcast, it's honoring the feelings.
Right.
It's not being consumed by it,
Absolutely.
Which is that coming out. It's like, hey, I'm upset, but there's me complaining about it is not going to fix anything. It's me doing something that's going to fix it. And that's the triumph. That's the victory coming out of it.
Bro, it's fire. Okay, so there's a couple things that I'm seeing in this. You're in this space, and there's certain things that are being used for you to be able to push through. One is, you mentioned community. I have this Venn diagram that I created in my research, and it was talking about how a support system is an extremely important thing. And support system can be a peer support system, and it also can be a mentorship support system, right? Those are both support. So the reason I wanted you to train with Hamed is because he's the internal gym trainer that handles exercising people, and he understands what the psychology of the program is, right? That's why I wanted him, is that he's gone through the program himself, so he can understand where you've been, because he's been through it himself. And now he's helping people. Same thing as your story, right? You were there, that's why you're willing to help people. That's why inspiration phase is such an important thing. When you inspire people, it solidifies the good that you have, right? So he's out there helping you, and I know it's creating a community in two ways. One, you and him are working out together, or he's helping you train. So you have somebody that you can talk to. It's not just you and your brain, right? Two, there's a whole environment of people that are exercising. Everybody's sweating, everybody's pushing, everybody's moving. If you see a bunch of people running out of a building, you're probably going to start to run out the building yourself, right? Unless you're like, let me go check out what that is, and run upstairs. You're around people that are sweating. You're around people that are actually putting in the time. All of them probably to some extent didn't want to go. You know what I mean? And they showed up. And there's a huge energy in that. And you followed that current. And I knew that just by you being in it, you don't have to worry about your mind. There's an unnecessary battle that you fight sometimes. And there's an unnecessary battle that we fight sometimes when we try to go at things alone. That's why I'm such a proponent for coaching. When I did the research, I had two cohorts, some who were able to go through the program with me while they were exercising and some who didn't. The ones who were with me in the intervention program that I created had longer lasting results and saw exercise in a healthier way, which made them more likely to go. It became fun. And that's what the job is. How do you get to an internal motivation? And internal motivation means you do it because of the satisfaction of it. You do it because you value it, right? My research was what internal and external motivations can be used to empower people to make the changes that they want to make, to be consistent. And so you're living it out. You're getting the community now, the community that he had that got him to the place that he is. You're in a community. And that's why I think it's so important for you having the mentorship, right? We're doing the coaching. And then on top of it, you have a coach that's helping you in health. It's just this tag team system that's just so dope. It really is. And so being able to create the community is powerful. So community and fun, those are the two things we just covered right now. One is you enjoyed it. It was internally motivating. And then at the same time, you had a community there. The third thing you mentioned was being okay with your emotions. This kind of ability to be like, I'm just feeling what I'm feeling. It's okay. That's one of the interventions that we use in the program, is how do you give yourself compassion? How do you forgive yourself? And there's a lot of research on the power of compassion. So this is, for people that are going through things, you have the situation itself that's happening, the suck, I call it the basic suck, and then you have your thoughts about it. And that's the stuff that really kills you. Ultimately, in everything that I did in my research and also my own anecdotal experiences as I was living, is that the thought is heavier than the situation. Most times, the thought is heavier than the situation. And that's what pulls us out. It's not I didn't do it. It's I didn't do it and I failed and I'm a failure. That's why I'm out. Yep. I didn't do it and that rings the bell of my core fear about who I am as a person, and that's why I'm out. Because if I keep trying, it's going to keep hitting that belief and validating that I suck. Right? Those moments are intense. I forgot they did some research. I think I might have mentioned this, but they had these women who were very self-conscious about their bodies. They came in for a research. This kind of they didn't know what it was going to be. So they're self-conscious about their bodies, and then the researcher's like, hey, we need you to eat this donut and drink a whole bunch of water. And the reason they wanted them to do it is so they would feel kind of guilty for eating a donut, and then especially full from drinking the water. So then they separated these women into two groups, and as they were leaving, they said, hey, thanks so much for being a part of this research, and feel free to take a chocolate on the way out. That's what they said to group one. Group two, they said, hey, you guys, I know that you guys didn't want to eat the donut. I know that, but just understand, everybody makes mistakes sometimes. It's not a big deal. Just go on with your day and enjoy your life. Feel free to grab a chocolate on the way out. They found that the women who got the message of self-compassion were less likely to eat the chocolate. The women who didn't get that message of self-compassion, that didn't get the message of it's okay, ate more chocolate. They call it the what the hell effect. It's like, what the hell? I already failed, so I might as well just give in completely. I missed a day, I might as well miss. I ate this, so I might as well eat it all. That's our brain. The mistake is not the problem. It's our thought about it. The what the hell is what destroys us, right? And so for you, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a space where you're like, I feel all these emotions. I didn't go to the gym this day. Da, 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 da. It's a feeling. I can go tomorrow. Just that. Very, like a small sect of the population has that in the world. It's just a feeling. Nobody says that because we're so quick to just, the feeling is reality. And that's how we live. We are so quick to live in that reality that what I feel is reality. Mm-hmm. But if you can just say it's just a feeling or it's just a thought, what it does is it puts water on your fire.
That's crazy.
Right? And it allows you to make a choice. Because you're not choosing. You're a slave. The emotional reaction is quit. This is going to hurt. You failed. I told you. I'm trying to protect you from making more change and failing at it. But then you're like, no, you're just a thought. Like, that's all you are, homie. Like, you're just a thought. And let's see what's on the other side of this. But what if you fail? Then I fail. But your mind is thinking, I'll die. That's pretty much what it is. We have this thing that it's like, well, I'll die.
What a battle, man.
Right? Right? And it's crazy because the battle is like, how do I explain it? It's like a sock puppet that's talking to you, right? But it's in the dark. But then when you like turn the light on, you're like, you're just a damn sock puppet. You're like, forget it. Like, why am I listening to you? Like, who gave you authority over reality? How do you get to choose what's real and what's not? And why do I have to make choices based on your perception of how reality works? Like, homie, get down. Like, I see you. I'm not going to ignore you. I see you. I acknowledge you. But I'm not listening. Like, I got to figure out what's really going on. So you being able to have that compassion is one of the hugest interventions. It's massive. You know what I mean? Because you understand that it's okay to not be okay. That transformation doesn't mean that you're just this new thing where things are perfect. It's just different. It's a different environment. Like a caterpillar, it's dangerous for a caterpillar, right? It's dangerous when it's in the cocoon. It's dangerous for a butterfly. You know what I mean? Even though it's beautiful, there are insects that maybe want to, attack it. Who knows? Like it doesn't matter where your transformation is. You're still experiencing life. You're still human. You know what I mean? So those are some powerful things. And now you're on the up track. Show us what it looks like. So now that you're allowing yourself to feel what you feel. And obviously you still have up days and down days. So please express that if you're feeling those now, because I don't want people to think that it's just A, B, C. It's a dance, just like you said. There's processes. There's days that suck. There's days that are good. But kind of where are you in your trajectory right now?
It's kind of like trading.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm
stocks.
not really going like crazy.
Stocks, right?
Yeah, stocks. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of volatility.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a steady flow up with some downs, but still going up.
Moderate option.
So what that means is I just listen to my body, if that makes sense. I listen to my body and I listen to what I have to do to take care of myself. So for example, this is what it looks like. If I want to take a day where I'm just playing nothing but video games, or I'm resting that whole day, what it is two things that come right off the top of my head is it's respect and trust. Mm-hmm. The trust factor is that even though today I will play video games all day and I won't work, I trust that tomorrow I will work and I will put in the work. So, and then the respect part is respecting yourself enough to give yourself that day. Because if I'm just working all the time, it's not about working, it's about having fun. It's about living. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm giving myself respect and I'm giving myself trust.
It's interesting. So what you're saying is, what happens is somebody's like, I'm going to take a day off, and then the day becomes a week, becomes a month, becomes a year, so whatever. You're saying that I actually have learned, and it's funny because it ties to your value of self-love, right? I've learned to trust myself. And this is everything. I say the work that I do is about getting you to fall in love with your past, present, and future self. That's your first family. That's the first family. Because when the present you is willing to make a commitment and the future you is willing to keep that commitment, you have more power than most people on the planet, right? So what's happening with you is you're saying, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to enjoy my life right now, but I do know that when work time comes, I'll do it. That's a very powerful relationship, right? I say there's something called in research called the intention behavior gap. And the way that I explain it the easiest is, who's the person that sets the alarm at night? The person that sets the alarm has the intention. The person who wakes up, he's like, nah, I'm here now. Like, you got to sleep. I got to get up. I want to hit snooze. So it's that separation, the distinction between those two selves that is the gap that we're trying to fill. That's all I care about. Like, how do I get you to intend to do a thing and do it, right? And that's what you're starting to do. You're starting to say, I intend to do this, and I do it. As opposed to throwing stupid dust on yourself to say, I'll do it tomorrow, and that's enough for you to appease yourself to feel not guilty to do it today. And then when tomorrow comes, you're like, I got some more dust, and you throw it. You're like, nope, I'm going to keep it in my pocket. I got to do what I got to do. That integrity is so important. People don't understand that when they first learn to trust themselves, it's one of the most freeing things in the world. Because trusting yourself is loving yourself. Mm-hmm. It's setting boundaries. It's saying no to others, and it's saying no to you. It's saying yes to others, and it's saying yes to you in the right context and situations. That's an insane power. Like, it's a superpower because it's so uncommon, right? So kind of in this space, how do you feel where you're at right now? As you're kind of, coming from that crisis where you were just like, I want to work out, I don't want to work out. Now you got to train, you have accountability. That's actually another thing I wanted to share. Accountability is huge. Sometimes you don't have the internal motivation. That's why I'm not like knocking on external motivation. I'm like, sometimes you got to take advantage of that. Sometimes you got to be competitive. Sometimes you got to find something that's just like, I want to prove you wrong. Whatever just gets you to go. Then you want to get rid of that till you want to prove yourself worthy. You know what I mean? It's no longer about the other person. So you have the accountability. You're at a place where you're starting to have self-compassion on yourself. You're at a place where you're finding fun. How do you feel right now in your trajectory? Do you feel hopeful, excited, a little fearful? Can I keep it up? Like, what's in your mind?
I feel definitely excited.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely excited because I'm kind of seeing also like little changes. And I think the best word I can find is I just feel centered. Like, I just feel so centered. Like, I'm just kind of here and everything is just kind of like, okay, tuck, tuck, tuck. And I'm just an observer. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm kind of just observing everything right now and just making the correct changes to where I can set my future self up.
Right. That's it.
That's really it.
That's a good place. That's a good place. And you're going to have bad days. We're all going to have bad days. It's going to happen. But again, it goes back to being the observer. An observer has no skin in the game. Right? When you're objectively looking, it's the observer. But when you're subjectively looking, that's when your story just throws you across everywhere. So you're just like, okay, I feel bad. Why do I feel bad? Like in meditation, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, okay, what are you feeling? I think I feel anxiety. Okay, where is it? It's here. Okay, that's it. It's not like, how do we get rid of it? First, just acknowledge it so you understand it, and then course correct as you can. But the goal is not to course correct. This is where it gets a little minutia. But the goal is not to course correct to get rid of it. The goal is to course correct to understand that you don't need to feel that way. It's not about go away. It's about, it's okay that you're here. And when it's okay that you're here, it dissipates. You see what I'm saying? It's the same goal, but different approach. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's what self-love is. I'm going to give a quick, I'm going to shoot this story so fast, but there's a kid, and the kid's wearing a jacket, and the cloud comes up to the sun. He goes, hey, I bet I can get this kid to take off his jacket. So I was like, all right. So the cloud comes down, and he's just like, blowing. And the kid's like, shh. And the harder the cloud blows, the tighter he holds his jacket. Right? And then he's out of breath, the cloud's coughing, he comes back, he's like, that kid's not taking off his jacket. The son's like, let me try. So he just kind of closes up to him and just warms him. And the kid starts to get a little warm, starts to sweat a little bit. Then he takes off his jacket. Same goal, different approach. Everything I'm doing is the different approach. It's not the motivation. I study motivation, internal, external motivation, right?
Just do it.
Yeah, it's not just that. There's also an approach where self-love is important. It's, I want to change and transform. Yeah, but what is change and transform if you don't know who you are? If you don't know who you are, then you don't know your values, then you're going to change and transform into what they want you to be. Wow. Stop that. Like, first, let's find it. Before we get to your great grandeur, your dreams, let's just say, what is not true in you? Like, who taught you to love that? Then when we break that down, they'll realize, oh my God, I have those dreams because I hate myself and I'll feel good. I think I'll feel good if I get these things. Then they realize it's not who they are. Then we're like, then who are you? And then they put on the lens of who they are. I'm like, now look at the world. What do you want? That's when you have power. The approach is not transformation. The approach is understanding. And that transforms you.
Right? Jeez, dude.
It's information.
Jeez.
Knowing yourself. That's, Socrates, know thyself. Like, that's some deep, you know what I mean? It's like, know thyself.
Yeah.
Right?
So interesting you say that, because it's funny, like all these motivational talks, right? Like they'll say, you're motivated, change your dream, this and that, but they never talk about, like, understanding who you are.
Right.
Like what these feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, Brigade.
Dude,
it's crazy.
It comes back to my vision. It's totally selfish in its authenticity. And because I desire to be authentic, I need to have an authentic world. I want it to be easy for me to exist, right? So I need to make everybody authentic, even if they disagree with my perspectives to a certain extent, but be authentic and have an intention of good for the world that's supportive, right, of other people's authenticity to a certain extent. So that's an important thing. So it's we deserve this. We deserve this. You don't need $1 million. You don't need the beautiful spouse. You don't need any of that. You just need to know what you love and then go after that, right? That's just it. If I can get you to be happy in the way your life is right now, and then you're in a space of gratitude, then you'll have the freedom to not be complaining and hating your life, to see how you can make it better, right? So, but it all does tie to my vision, and a lot of my vision came to life because of my story. So, and I'll bring my story in, how I learned what my vision was through my suffering, right? So I was talking about my voice and how I lost my voice. I was in this very dark space where I just didn't want to exist, right? So musician, I was a singer-songwriter, played music. This was what I was about. When I made music, I was just enough cool, just enough sexy, just enough nerdy, just enough funky, just enough everything about me just came together perfectly. It was beautiful, right? So it was that was my thing. That was who I was. I lose my voice, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't sing. When I can't sing, who am I? I'm nobody, right? I went to music school and it was even more depressing. And I'm like, who am I? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I was something and now I'm nothing. But the pain that I say is, there's more pain from your height of the fall, right? It's the height that determines how painful the fall is. And I was in a high space. So I was depressed in a dark space, and I'm like, I need to work. I'm living in LA at the time. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go work at Gold's Gym. And so it was so funny because, you know how I say we always say negative things about ourselves. When I had my own business, I was like, I'm not working hard enough. So anyways, we'll bookmark that statement. So I get hired at Gold's Gym. And it was, because what I do is, in my life, I prove myself a liar. I'm like, how serious are you about a thing? So I put deadlines in it. So when I was at music school, I'm like, if I don't achieve this by this time, then I'm going back to school. And then that happened. I didn't achieve it. I'm like, okay, that's it. Called my BS. Going back to school. So I go back to school, and I've been like community college and work my way up to where finally, and math was just a killer for me. We had that segment where we were talking about math majors and math minors. And so I hadn't done math in a minute, and so I was doing it at community college, and I was just like hustling, just climbing up the ranks to get to where I needed to transfer. So I'm fast forwarding. I end up at Gold's Gym, and what ends up happening is, in the first 4 months, I'm number 1 in the state and number 3 in the country, working part-time.
Damn.
So I'm beating out people that are working full-time. And it's like, when you're like a superhero finds that they have a superpower and they start looking at their hands like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm not dead, right? So in this place, I realized I wasn't dead. I had to see myself succeed. And that's kind of one of the things that is most important in being able to get out, is to find somewhere that you can succeed. It doesn't matter how small it is. Just get a win. Which goes back to do. Like, just do. Sometimes the best way to survive is to act. Sometimes it's not about thriving. It's just about doing. Just keep moving. And that's what I was doing. And when I was at work, it was so funny because I didn't realize I had my own business at the time, and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. So what I realized that employees are lazy as hell. Like, oh my God, like I had no idea. So I was thinking about where I was when I was having my own business, and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. And then I'm looking at these people, they're like, give me clients. We're not getting clients. I'm like, there's a book of new clients, like literally new members here. All I'm doing is calling them, and I'm calling them and giving them a free session. And it's just like, and I literally had very limited time. First off, I was driving a long distance, so I only went to work on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I had a limited time. So I forced everybody into those hours, right? And I made sure that every day I would make a certain amount of money. And at the time, they weren't doing like group training, but I used to in my old gym. I used to do that all the time. So I'm like, well, you come in, and I grouped them all together, and I made it work.
Wow.
I made it work.
Crazy.
And it was so funny because even when I was going up against one of the homies at Golds, he was always number one and he worked full time. And he had he had a sandbag where he's like, okay, boom, all of a sudden he was up by like 1,000, right? And then I had another client that was coming in and I'm like, Dad, man, good job. Then I had a client that threw in 2 Gs. And it was just like, boom, and it was like right at close too. So it was like game over. So you get this feeling where you're like, dude, I'm number 1 in California, number 3 in the country.
That's crazy.
I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not dead. That's everything. Like that thought is everything. Maybe it's not over. That's it. What that is like a little light in this black tunnel. Maybe it's not over, right? And really what I say is for most people, hope is one of the most powerful things. To try to find places of hope. And the only way that I got to that place of hope was by acting. I just had to move. And I'm just like flailing. I'm just moving. Okay, something's got to give. Something's got to happen. And then I got that little ray of hope. And I'm like, dude, I'm actually capable. I forgot I can do this. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I can do this. So I built up my business. And then I moved back to Southern California and I was traveling. I'm like, okay, the commute is too much. I'm going to start my own thing again. Go back there. All the knowledge that I gained while I was out there, my skill set had gotten so much better. Rebuilt the business, right? And my voice was better. It wasn't 100%, but it was better. I couldn't sing, but I could talk. Plus, I didn't need to, there was no yelling involved. It was all communication, right? I knew how to move people. Like, I got to the point where it was like symphonies when I was training people. Like, we had 12 videos where like 12 people are training, and they're all like in pods. Training, like the senior clients are helping the newer clients, which is part of the inspiration. That's why I got that phase. And they're just like doing all this different stuff. And it just kind of gives you this feeling of like, dude, this is dope. And I made a video called The Power of Community. And it talked about how much I loved my clients. Like I was internally motivated. I was in love with my clients. And I felt that I must evolve. I have to evolve because if I don't, they can't. And the question is, people could be like, that's not true. They can evolve on their own. I'm like, but what is that story of me saying they can evolve? How does that help? I'm putting a lace on myself to force myself to evolve because they can only grow as much as I can. And I still follow that heuristic, that belief, right?
That's so true.
It's powerful.
Absolutely.
So I found my community, right? I just did the work. I saw myself win, and then I found my community. These were my interventions to be able to come alive. And then at that time, I started to apply to schools. And it was crazy. I have my story. I got so many stories. Dude. What a circuitous like life. But there was a time when I didn't get accepted into schools, and I remember I walked out of UCLA because I didn't get accepted, and I was walking out. I was trying to peel it like nap, and I walked out, and there's these students walking. I'm like, I missed the opportunity.
Damn.
I missed the opportunity, right? Because I was building my business, and I got accepted to the University of Michigan, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do my business. I'm like, I missed it. So flash forward, I'm applying to all these schools, and then I applied to Berkeley. I'm like, whatever. All of a sudden, I get a Facebook email that says, hey, welcome to Berkeley, join our Facebook group. I didn't even get the letter. I just got the email. I'm like, wait, what? So I get into Berkeley, right? And then I get to recreate myself in a whole new way. The crazy thing is in my business, while I rebuilt my business, I started doing more of the lifestyle coaching. And I'm like, I want to focus on the mind. The internal gym is the mind, it's not the body. And I was focusing on how do I create programs that help build people's brains because I care about humans evolving. I want to make better humans. Better humans equal better bodies as well, but the human is what I care about. So I go to Berkeley, and that's a story in itself, but I end up there. And then I do research on human behavior, psychology of behavior change, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And then I get grants on doing research. And then I do a literal case study here in Orange County at 2 gyms, and I gather so much information. And then I get another grant for research. And then I write my thesis on it, and then I'm able to teach a class on the internal gym, redefining health and wellness. And I've changed, dude, it's the craziest thing, you guys. Like, this is nuts. I'm talking too much, but right now, I'm just in the vibe.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I had classes that were asking people what greatness is. Like, was it defined wrong?
Wow.
I had people saying, I'm doing what my parents want me to do. One guy, literally, he took a semester off to do his SoundCloud. He's like #1 on SoundCloud right now. Like, it's crazy. He came back, I didn't even know. He's like, I took a semester off and I make music and it's doing really well. I'm like, dope, man. But you're breaking people's minds of what is your life? What makes you happy? How do you want to live? When people experience like the first taste of themselves, you get addicted. It's so powerful. So I'm able to teach classes on this stuff. And then I have students who become teachers. They became co-facilitators with me, and then after I graduated, they're teaching the class, and it's living on after me. And and as this is all happening, I'm like, how did I get here? Because I didn't get there. Music. I didn't get there, that's how I got here. So who am I to say what's a good story and a bad story? It just depends on where you stop the book. If you keep reading, you'll figure it out. That's where the adventure is. So for me, I got to this place where I realized that life is not about landing. It's about jumping, but you have to land a jump, right? So it's about going to the next thing, about moving. And I remember I was working with my mentor, Dan Mulhern. That's freaking incredible. Love the guy. But we were working on my vision statement. You know what I mean? And I was just really digging to find out, like, what is important to me. And my vision statement, which I may have mentioned before, but it's, I envision a world where boundless imagination and creativity is applied to life itself, where the very art of living is mastered and evolved as each individual is empowered to express their unique greatness in the world. And I broke it down. I got a video on my website that literally breaks down why each phrase is in there. But the one that's important in terms of what we're talking about now is to master and evolve. So I was mastering music, but it's not just about mastery. It's about evolving. And then you start to realize that evolution is your mastery. That moving and becoming better and evolving is where the mastery is. And that's where it becomes the art of living. And the reason I say art is because art is never wrong. I can't say you have bad art, you have good art. Art is whoever's in the eye of the beholder. It's totally subjective. That's the uniqueness that I'm talking about. That's the authenticity. So as I go through these crazy stories and I start to put together the narrative of who I am, it becomes epic and it becomes inspiring. Just as your story is inspiring and epic because we start to see these patterns and we can relate with other people. Your story I relate with, mine you relate with, we relate.
It's crazy, dude.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, of course.
And what it does is it dumbs down the complexities of life to understand that this is just a ride. You know what I mean? This is an adventure and we're on a journey and our job is to master evolution. Dude, if you're not inspired,
That's
like
crazy.
it's cool, man. But if you are, you're part of this.
Seriously.
That's it.
That's
Simple
what
as that.
it
If you
is.
feel something, then hey, good news. If you feel something, good news. You know what I mean? Because there's a new, it's like a new Renaissance type of thing. You know what I mean? And the cool thing is, it's not just read my book. It's not just take this course. It's like, no, we're creating better humans. That's it. It's not a movement to like destroy or topple. It's like, let's just create better humans. And you can do that not by changing your life, not by a before and after picture. What I say is I don't care about before and after. I care about during and after. Because that's life. You know what I mean?
After.
Right? Exactly. Like what's happening during, that's your evolution. Then you have that moment of after, and then what happens after.
Yeah.
Because if I got you there, if you're changed there, then I don't care about you before and after. I'm not going to sell you on that. I'm selling you on during and after. Because if you can handle those, then you can handle living. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, man. Jeez, bro.
Yeah. So what's my informed optimism? I can evolve. I know I can evolve. I have learned not to be married to anything but evolution. Right? Which is the evolution of myself. That's me becoming my highest being. Right? Being connected to God at the highest level, whatever it is. This is my vibe.
Man, it's so interesting how like you like kind of ping ponged all around different areas.
Yeah.
And like your main thing, because like your main identity was music, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're all about the music, and then all of a sudden, your whole life completely changes.
Right.
And God just throws you all around.
Right.
And within the process of this happening, discovery, you're inspiring all these people around you, and you have no clue what's going on until it finally hits one day. You're like, wait, what? This is what I was made to do.
Right.
Crazy.
It's a powerful journey, dude, and it's cool because I'm still on it, right?
Yeah.
That's why when you say mastering evolution, like you can't win it.
That's what I was like,
you can't,
that's
like
you.
it's like being good at changing.
Yeah.
It means you're never, you know what I mean? Like you have to change because as soon as you're good at it, you have to change it. It doesn't work. But it means it's this journey that just kind of keeps on going. That's why I say, what if goals were just excuses for adventure? Goals get you to go. And then you course correct. You observe and you course correct. I'm not my goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even the internal gym, this is beautiful. This is my hobby. Even if it's what I spend most of my time on. I'm my career. Right? And since I'm my career, I gotta make sure that I do right by me. This is legacy. This is changing as many people's lives. This is just what I was supposed to do, but I'm also supposed to live too. That's where the art of living is. Don't give me a title.
Damn, Briquet, you just killed it there, bro. I'm my career.
That was a recent revelation.
Dude, I've never heard anyone say that. Like, my career is this.
Yeah.
No one's ever said, I'm my career.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
What do you do for a living? Me. I do me.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Bro.
Like, done.
Dude, that's crazy, bro.
If you want to know more, you can. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's crazy, Briquet.
Yeah, it's dope, dude.
That's dope.
It's a process.
You said that was a recent revelation.
Recent revelation.
Tell me about that.
I got caught up in building the business, and I started thinking that the business was what I was supposed to, and I almost felt it like corporatizing me. Like I'm like, the thing I'm creating is becoming the thing that I don't want to be. And I was like, why am I feeling stressed? Because as success was becoming more apparent, I started feeling like I might get stuck in the cogs of this. You know what I mean? I was telling my girlfriend about it, and I always write out my thoughts. So I'm just writing, okay, well, it's my like I had the same thing I do with my client. I'm like, what is happening? Okay, why am I feeling this? This is all good stuff. But I felt that I would be losing myself. My fear was losing myself, and then it made me think, like, does it mean that this is not what I'm supposed to do? And you just dig through it, and those are just feelings. You just look at it, you observe it, but you're not like, oh, you're just like, okay, that's a thought. So I'm writing it down, and I'm like, it's a hobby. This is a hobby. This is what I like to do for fun, right? But it's not everything. I'm not married to it. The marriage is here, right? And when I realized that, my authenticity was more free to come out. I could be stupid a little bit more. You know what I mean? I didn't have to be so suit and tie in terms of exactly, right? And even my company is already, there's a huge authenticity. It's authentic already. But even now, I'm even more so able to. And the people that are partnering, that are moving in with this thing, it's funny because they pull out that authenticity in me unconsciously. It's really cool. Like one of the venues, so Tuesday we're doing this seminar, right? And I'm like, okay, I just need to find a place, you know? And then one of the ladies, she's like, it's my girl, Trey. She's like, I found a spot, right? And the spot is gorgeous. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, my authenticity was like, boom. It almost said, shut up, Briquet, that. And it was cool because I got to just, and I didn't even have to work towards authenticity. Somebody else helped provide the space for it, which is what we want to do. That's even what the program, that's what we're doing, is how do we just create, I just want to dance around you enough to where you get to dance however you want. Right? And that's what I do even on the dance floor. When I'm dancing, I'll dance crazy enough to make somebody feel comfortable to dance. And if they're dancing, they're just going to do whatever they feel because they trust that I'll protect that space. Because I'm the center of attention, and now I'm like, okay, how do you dance? And then your dance is better than mine because it's yours.
Man, the power of community, bro.
Dude, it's crazy, man. It's so available in so many different ways. You know what I mean? And so just getting us to be able to encapsulate it, explain it in a way that's not cheesy, because we have to navigate cheesiness because people have been so played by fake, genuine people. But I think when they hear these type of conversations, if they do think it is, it may be their own sickness. Because I feel like this is pretty clearly pure.
It's relatable.
You know what I mean?
Something that we all go through.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah.
Especially the flow of how you explained it. It's perfect.
Absolutely. So this is our story, right? These are our stories as we've gone through the hype to the desperation to the kind of reemergence. And what I always say is that not one is better than the other. If I run a marathon and I take a step out, I haven't run a marathon, right? Every step is required. So in no way is one better than the other. It's just a process. And it happens like this. It goes on forever, and you have to be okay with that. You know what I mean? I remember before you talked about you were scared. What if I have to restart to figure out who I am and all? Like, we're always going to be doing that.
Yeah.
And as soon as we can accept, as you're talking about that, just accept that, then it becomes a ride. Because you're no longer fixed on a specific outcome. You're fixed on the evolution, right? So, hope you guys enjoyed that. I think this was dope. I had a really good time.
Awesome.
If you guys have any last thoughts or anything like that.
I'll go last.
Well, man, I mean, honestly, Briquet, thank you so much for sharing your experience and how everything ties into that whole crisis of meaning and to the informed optimism. And just seeing that and seeing how in the end of all of this, the main thing that unifies all of us, the community, is inspiring others.
Right.
When we inspire others, it makes it makes movement more meaningful. It's a lasting impression. Like me training other people, I see them wanting to exercise, get better. It makes me feel good too.
Right.
It makes me want to get better and you constantly evolve. And I also see the change in everything else, whether it's related to work, family, other endeavors out there. It's the same equation.
Totally.
It's just like I'm doing the voice acting now. I'm going through the same process right now. I'm going through that part of the uninformed optimist right now, and I'm going through that uninformed pessimism right now. I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of work.
Right.
But it's the same cycle,
Totally.
same equation, and I'm feeling the same thing right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there.
The excitement is where the power is at. You know what I mean? And then remember how I always say everything is everything. You know what I mean? Everything is everything. And so you're seeing it. And the more that you're able to correlate, that's a marker of knowledge, of understanding, is when you can connect one thing to another thing more in context, right? So you're saying, I've experienced it, I'm experiencing it again. I survived it, I'm going to survive it again. It's like the work that we do on, when was the last time you had a breakthrough? And you're like, oh, I had a breakthrough, so I can have a breakthrough now. You know what I mean? So it's dope, man. The excitement is a beautiful space to be when you're feeling that informed pessimism.
Sweet. Jacob.
I honestly think enough was said. I mean, obviously you're incredible, Briquet, and the program works, and the best thing, I just want to give you compliments. I mean, sure, why not? But like, man, you're killing it. You're a great role model to people, and that's what gets people to change, is that you're doing it with us. You're doing the work on your own life. And just a message to people, lead by example. That's really it.
Yeah.
Just lead by example. Be what you want to see, kind of like what you said earlier. You figured out that you had to evolve for other people to evolve too, because you can only evolve other people as much as you've evolved.
Right.
And it's like, just always keep striving. Always, you always can do better. And just like you say, if better is possible, good is not enough. Right. Which is, I mean, if I could do it, I would put it as the definition of evolution.
Right. Yeah. That's dope, man.
That's dope.
I think that's incredible advice. Those two things you said exactly are great send-offs in terms of, if you're leading, you lead by example. If you're trying to survive by acting. Just do something. You know what I mean? Push. There's hope. There is hope. And when you get that first crack of hope, you run towards it. You know what I mean? And then you find a community as quickly as you can. Because we all go through it. You know what I mean? And if you continue to push, if you continue to surround yourself with people that talk like this, you know what I mean, that think like this, if you read books on it, even when a part of you is like, don't listen to that, or a part of you is like, it's not going to work for me, just be open. Just be objective. Hear the puppet, the sock puppet, and realize that it's just a sock puppet. You know what I mean? So this is the process of evolution. Even, somebody who's at the top level trying to get to the topper level. You know what I mean? Or somebody who's at the bottom trying to get to the first. We're all going through it. Evolution. All right. Good stuff. Thanks so much for watching this, guys. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. If you have stories of you going through your valley and breaking through, by all means, put it in the comments, share, reach out to us. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in bed.